Perkut Ches, Pasuk Chavaler. We speak about all the forbidden sexual relationships, incestuous. And then it says, and from your progeny you should not give to pass through the molech. What is that? That's the avodah zarah, idolatry, passing between fires. You should not desecrate the name of Hashem Elokecha ani Hashem. So Rashi says molech. La molech avodah zarah hi sheshmo molech. Zui gedolos. Zui avodah. So what's the avodah? Shemos b'nol lekomrim. You give over your child to the priests of this idolatry. V'osin shtei maduros gedolos, like two large, like bonfires. U'ma'aviris haben b'raglov ben shtei maduros ha'esh. They pass the child. The child walks between these two infernos while they're burning. Lositein. What's lositein? Zui mesiros lekomrim. This is when you give the child over to the priests. Lavil hamolech. That's the second stage. Zu havoros ha'esh. That's passing the child through the fire. Okay? Over there, the Gemara says that a person has one child, right? Only has one child, and you give it over, there's no liability. It's because it says umizaracha, of your children. You have to have more than one child. You have 2 children, 3 children, you give one of your children. Let's say a person only has only one child. The person is not subject to the death penalty. Not subject to that.
If he gives the child over to the molech?
It's the same thing, to the molech. It says here that if you give of your children, plural, that means you have multiple children, you give one of them.
What's the difference?
That's Gzer Sekosov. That's Eino Chimin Adin. That's Eino Chimin Adin.
Isn't that avodah zarah though, when one child?
But at the Torah, in terms of the liability, the death penalty, it's only of your children, not all your children.
Yeah.
Not all your children, the Gemara says. Right? Of, but not all. So over there, then you're not liable. Maybe if you give the first, if they, let's say you give them all over simultaneously, you're not liable. So over there, there's a famous.
Yeah, I thought they also killed the child.
I thought he killed the child.
No. So they, over there's a famous marsha. There's a marsha over there. What's the constant? Onshin men adin. And if you give one of your children is subject to the death penalty, if you give all your children, because you only have one child, or all your children, definitely. So he cites a Bahag, Balachas Gedolos, who says, what is the whole concept of punishment? Punishment is kapara, right? Person, let's say, violates Shabbos without forewarning, deliberately. Zimmer chatos, right? There's no chatos. Why? Because since deliberately it's more serious, it's more severe, so chatos is not sufficient to be mechaper on a chilul Shabbos b'mezid. We do it deliberately. The Torah says, when does Mises Bezin, when does it suffice to bring about kapara? If you give of your children. If you give all your children, it's so severe, even putting it to death is not sufficient. That Hashem has to take care of. That's between Hashem and the person. That's the bahag. No, it's like same concept. I mean, death is not sufficient to atone. Hashem says, he'll take care of this already. That's Eino Chimin Adin. That's Eino Chimin. You can't apply the concept of right?
And because it's more severe.
That's why it's not sufficient. So you understand, punishment is not just to punish you. Punishment is rehabilitative, right? Person, they're going to do extreme surgery. The man is dying. It's not going to help. What are you going to cut? There's no point. It's not going to alleviate the illness, the cancer. Same thing. It's so extreme. The effect of the chet, putting him to death, is not going to have any effect on him. Okay? So here is a Ramban. It says you should not give la molech to the molech. I mean, it was known to them. He says because in Egypt this was a known type of worship. See, he's speaking to Klal Yisrael, they're aware of it. Rabbi Avram Omar ki tochen shu malchum to'avas bnei Amon. Chenira ki kosev was even a shlomo boma l'chmo shikutz mo'ov l'molach shikutz bnei Amon. You see, it wasn't Egypt, but it was the deity of Ammon. Gamu hoyu yedu lehem. Kosev Rashi zu avidosa. Rashi says, what is the avodah? Shemosa b'no lekomrim. You give your child over to the priests. V'akomrim osa shtei maduras gedolos u'mavir es haben beraglo v'shtei maduras eish. Tositein He's quoting Rashi. Zeh misirosa lakomim. First, you should not give. That's giving your child over to the priest. Lahavir lamolech. Lahavir havoras v'zein onochon. She'omru berag gmor beraglov. Omru gmor sanej haviru beregel potter. Elo kishma rosa lepuri shemaviru betoch ish mamash. That the child goes through the fire itself. It's not between the fire, but he walks through the fire. Not that he's burnt. It's not you sacrifice him. Mm-hmm. It's like you go through the fire. I mean, you may get burnt, but it's not human sacrifice. The Now he says, this bothered me. I give it over to the priest. So giving it to a priest, that's not enough to be sufficient, but to be liable for the death penalty. The Komer have to give it over. So it comes out, the person himself, when he gives it to the Komer, he's not doing the act of idolatry. The Komer do the act of idolatry. Right? So how could you be mechayiv him for something? His action is only a preparatory for the next. You have to do the total. If he would be the one to do it, I would understand. The actual avodah zorah is passing the child through the fire, or walking through the fire, taking the child through the fire. But over here, he gives it to the priests. The priest takes it. He says, how can he be liable when if the priests are the one who actually do an act of avodah zorah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they don't allow anybody else.
Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make. But giving the priest is not the act. Let's say just give it. The priest doesn't pass the child through. The act wasn't done yet. So what's the act? The priest passing it through. So how could you be mechayiv? How could you libel the father or the parent for what the priest does? And the pasuk itself indicates, it says, Mavir beno bito beish. It says, what's the death penalty? For the one who passes his son or daughter through the fire. These the two parts. First, the father gives the child over to it's the protocol of the avodah zarah. He gave it over the child for molech. As you do, it's similar to avodah. You give the korban to the kohen. Then they wave the child. They do some other ritual. Then they give the child, after they do the hocus pocus on the kid, they give the child back to the father, okay? And the father passes the child through the fire. And that's the pasuk. The father passes his son or daughter. Then he takes him back from the Kohen, takes the child back from the priests. Not talking about he burnt the child. Child lived. He says, what about a person himself walks through the fire he says he's not liable for the death penalty. But if Molech is, he's burned to death, so what he's not liable for the death penalty. So you see, the person comes out, he survives. He may come out burnt, burnt in terms of hurt. But yeah, he says, nevertheless, it seems from the psukim that the child was consumed by the fire. The child was consumed by the fire. It's pasuk in Yechezkel. The children that were born to me, they passed them to be consumed. Lochel means to be consumed by the fire. V'shem nemar. It says, and they slaughtered their children for their idolatry. They would actually pass the child till the child would be burnt. They kept the child long enough in the fire that the child should die. The pasuk in Yechezkel says to be consumed. And it says the consumed is the equivalent of slaughtering. They would actually pass him over a bed of coals, but they pass him long enough. If you go through it, you just burn your feet. But if you keep going back and forth over the coals, eventually the child gets burnt. That's what the Torah says. You're already chayiv misa for the first passing through, with the child's still alive. But ultimately, what was the ritual that the child would actually be burnt? The fire would actually catch onto one of his limbs. You can imagine the torture this was over here. The child was alive. But ultimately, the person would be consumed by the fire. It's actually mavir beish. Meaning the person dies, catches. Here's interesting. How do you kasher a vessel that goes through the fire? It says taviru baish. What's taviru baish? It has to turn red hot. A metal vessel, you put it through the fire, it turns red hot. So you see, havor baish doesn't mean you just pass it through the fire. It has to be fully impacted by the fire. So the same thing, tavir beish by molech, ultimately the child is consumed by the fire, not to be incinerated. But the fire is burning through the child's body, and then the child dies from it. But they don't leave the child in the fire to be burnt to a point of ashes. No, just the ritual. We're coming to answer the language, right? The text, what the language is. Lo mishasarf osan kashiyasa alevenim malbing. Imkein mavir beno bito beish nisinos beish shetim shvuleish lo havor balmots. It's not just passing through, but rather to be affected. V'havoras haniskeres b'molach shiboeish al dasar b'seinu.
So when is he chayav? When is the father chayav? When does he get the?
When he passes the child through the first time. But the child's
that?
getting burnt. The child's not dead yet. Right. But they just keep passing the child through.
What's his punishment?
The death penalty.
But he has to do it himself.
He has to do it himself. The father does it himself. He takes it back from the priest, right. And then he passes the child through, and the child actually catches fire. The child's not dead yet, right. And he keeps doing it till the child dies.
So he's not even getting the death penalty because of murder. He
No.
murdered the child. He gave over this child to a priest who's going to murder him.
No. The father does it. No, the father. Father keeps doing it.
So,
I mean, the halacha would be. No, the halacha would be that, let's say he's forewarned on murder, but he's not forewarned for avodah zarah.
So you don't have to be forewarned for avodah zarah, right?
Of course, you have to be forewarned. No, that's only in terms if you think about avodah zarah. It's a chet between benod and lamokum. But be put to death by the bezdin, you have to be forewarned. So let's say he's forewarned on one and on the other. So be put to death for killing the child, but not for molech. Yeah, one skila, one's sayif. Murder is sayif, is dying by the sword. The other is skila, which is more severe. Correct. Both. Good. It's part of the ritual, but it's not. In its own right, it's not enough. It says lo site. He's not going to get malchus because it's lashon and lashon Mrs. Bezin. That's part of Mrs. Bezin. The person doesn't receive malchus for such a thing. Right.
If you bring a couple, you get the bar.
Yeah.
But you also don't do all. You give it to the couple, the house. So the kind of the rest of it, and you get the bar.
That's something else.
Why can't you look at it?
No, because it's your korban. It's your korban.
Yeah.
That's why. Here, that's why you get kapara.
Right.
Here, it's you murdered the child. You didn't murder the child, or you didn't do that. The Kohen did it. The priest of avodah zarah did it.
Kind of situation.
He's a goy. He's a eichel dvaravera, whatever it may be. Right. So you can't say it. Okay. Let's see the moral.
Really, the person who tries to convert a whole city to avodah zarah.
Something else.
What's that called?
That's mesis and midiach.
Right. So they don't need forewarning.
Right. Ruchat to'adi. Oh, hey. machlokes tanoim. It's machlokes tanoim. Is lafchim ben shogig v'mezid, or it's gzeres kos if you have to forewarn a person. This is what's the halachic difference. A person is a chovir. He doesn't need forewarning. Nevertheless, there's an opinion he has to be forewarned, because that's the gzeres kosov.
And Maces is clear.
He's not. He doesn't have to. No. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't know you're not permitted to be maces for avodah zarah.
Right.
Doesn't make a difference. That's the exception. Firstly, I mean, here you have to look in the support. I don't recall. Why did we find mocha associated with incestual and sexual relations? There's a linkage between two of them.
Total perversion.
So that's one question. But normally we say avodah zarah, and then we list out mocha as a separate.
I'm telling you because it has a different status.